A critical revelation is unfolding that demands your immediate attention, signaling a shift in global stability we haven't seen in decades. This is your urgent World War III update. Before diving into the latest news and forecasts, a crucial public service announcement is in order. You need to get stocked up right now. Drop everything you are doing and find a way to procure whatever you anticipate needing for the coming year. Even if, by some miraculous stroke of luck, we manage to turn this ship around tomorrow, a likelihood I believe is near zero, the damage has already been done. We are facing long-tail effects that will persist for months, if not years. Consider how the establishment, mainstream media, and multinational corporations are discussing this situation. They frame it as a long-term crisis, yet simultaneously try to manage public panic by claiming it's a short-term problem, all while making long-term policy and legislative decisions. This contradiction should be a stark warning. It would be imprudent for anyone with an understanding of current events not to prepare and get their affairs in order. We likely have a brief window of opportunity where prices are not yet exorbitant, and vital commodities are still available before government rationing or price fixing begins in an attempt to curb runaway inflation and price gouging. This is the moment to act. You are entirely justified in taking these steps, provided it doesn't lead to insurmountable debt. Never has there been a more justifiable time. Every single indicator is flashing red. Even if all sides of this escalating global conflict were to address their grievances in a timely fashion tomorrow, the lasting effects are already in motion. We are already looking at a cumulative shortfall of oil, liquefied natural gas, and various agricultural inputs, amounting to hundreds of millions of barrels in total, and that deficit grows daily. So, do what you must. This is truly the final warning. The best time to plant a tree was years ago. The second best time to start prepping is right now. There isn't widespread panic yet, and toilet paper is still on shelves, but I cannot guarantee that will be the case for much longer. We are looking at actual deadlines. I will quantify this further in a more targeted report tomorrow, establishing deadlines for actual fuel deliveries to various countries. This includes not only raw oil and materials but also refined products like diesel and gasoline, which are expected to be suspended in certain countries within a few weeks. This will have global repercussions because we live in a connected commodities market. If Australia cannot obtain oil, gasoline, or diesel, they will be willing to pay more for it. Unless there's government intervention, which always comes with its own negative effects and externalities, someone will purchase it, driving up global prices. Please, just do yourself a favor and stock up. At this point, it's safe to say, take any proclamations with a large grain of salt, even if a figure like Trump were to declare, "Mission accomplished," tomorrow. His market manipulation attempts are proving increasingly impotent, forcing him to continually raise the bar in terms of promises. I wouldn't be surprised if he announced something designed to shock the markets, perhaps another meeting, troop withdrawals, a signed peace deal, or indeed, mission accomplished. They will have to say something, and many will fall for it, but I doubt it will be as effective this time. Regarding current events, promises have been broken. A supposed moratorium on attacks on power plants inside Iran has apparently been lifted, as we've witnessed significant escalations throughout the weekend. Professor Mirandi offered valuable insights into the situation inside Iran in his recent analysis, and it appears many of our fears have been realized. They are targeting power plants, water facilities. Water is already scarce and was causing a crisis in Iran even before this conflict began, representing highly sensitive infrastructure across the Middle East. Universities have also been targeted. As of this video's creation, Iran is experiencing blackouts. There are rumors, and I emphasize these are just rumors, that soft-kill munitions are being used on Iran's power grids. These are described as aluminum filament bombs designed not for permanent damage but to temporarily black out areas by inducing electrical short circuits. Rumor also suggests the objective is to foment an insurrection before any ground forces are deployed, activating sleeper cells under the cover of darkness. Cryptic accounts on various social media platforms hint that the light shall emerge under the cover of night. We've seen armed militants inside Iran before, traditionally attempting to coordinate activities using Starlink. However, Iran, with assistance from China and Russia in suppressant technologies, has been able to reverse this, using Starlink signals to detect insurgent locations and dismantle these sleeper cell groups. From the Iranian perspective, these are terrorist groups, though from a Western propaganda viewpoint, they might be presented as liberators. At this stage, it's clear the true concern is not liberating the Iranian people, it's a play for commodities and dominance, ultimately an attempt to weaken China. The possibility of boots on the ground is now viable. Yesterday, Trump amplified a podcast by Mark Levin, urging listeners to tune in. Levin used his platform to argue for ground forces, suggesting that because Trump never explicitly ruled it out, it remains an option. This amplification by Trump's social media account is significant. We're already hearing anecdotes of troop surges, deployment papers being issued, and mass emails from military generals preparing personnel for deployment. There's even a widely circulated video where a woman, reportedly receiving information from military personnel at a nearby base, claims they are depressed about impending deployments, many being very young. It seems even the oldest profession can offer insights into the looming conflict. The Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps, IRGC, is claiming misdirection. Iranian security officials believe the U.S. is planning an air assault operation on key southern airports, including Bandar Abbas, Khorramshahr, Bam, and Tabriz, while coordinating a ground invasion with militias in northwestern Iran, according to state-run media. For those unfamiliar with the geography, this suggests the Kar Island narrative is a ruse, a deception. The attack will likely be multi-pronged, with a component targeting Kurdistan in northwestern Iran. This aligns with Mark Levin's discussion about the importance of securing nuclear material, which would necessitate extensive excavation and would undoubtedly be a high-casualty, red zone operation. Therefore, the prevailing narrative about a ground invasion might itself be a deception. We must watch what the other hand is doing. Internally, Iran is mobilizing. They launched a nationwide Sacrifice Life volunteer drive recently, with mass text messages urging civilians to prepare to defend the country against what the regime calls American Zionist threats. This requested mass mobilization of paramilitary forces and the civilian population. Concurrently, residents across Iran report a heavier internal security presence, including new checkpoints and armed patrols, as the regime tightens control amid fears of a wider war and domestic unrest, particularly around Isfahan, a city with a vital nuclear facility. Locals also describe checkpoint activity and arrests linked to accusations of sharing information about strikes and security deployments. With 90 million people, many agents are likely embedded, and Israeli spies have been training for this for decades. Israel is also being hit, though not to the same extent. Iran's retaliation remains tempered and measured from my perspective. While there are counterattacks on various steel and industrial facilities across the Middle East, outside the scope of oil and gas, in response to major attacks on Iranian steel plants, the optical impact has been less impressive. However, we must consider that Gulf states and Israel have a tighter grip on information dissemination. It's easier to suppress news in smaller populations without the same level of dissident activity as in Iran. We don't always know if Iran is targeting critical bottlenecks within facilities. Just because you see black smoke doesn't mean a critical junction was hit, one that could take months or years to repair and might not even produce much smoke. This is important to remember when observing massive attacks on, for example, Russian oil refineries. Optically, it looks devastating, and in the case of Luga, which is hit daily, that place is indeed being utterly destroyed, a unique case. Often, a single storage tank is hit, but a storage tank is not a critical processing component. Targeting parts of the facility involved in production and filling those tanks is far more damaging. We have observed an increase in ships passing through the Strait of Hormuz, but many are bulk carriers, not oil tankers. While a few oil tankers have passed, and the United States continues to permit Iranian oil tankers to mitigate rising oil prices, we haven't seen a drastic increase in oil tanker deliveries, with few exceptions. It's crucial to note that Iranians possess an asymmetrical ace in the hole, container-based launchers. Should the United States attempt to approach the Strait of Hormuz, they would face these launchers, disguised as cargo containers. We've seen similar tactics throughout Iran, where launchers are hidden in civilian trucks, appearing as milk trucks or other innocuous vehicles, a smart asymmetrical warfare strategy. Estimates suggest 1.5 to 3 million shipping containers are in Iran on any given day, mostly at ports, but also in backyards. If Iranian bulk carriers are seen near the Strait of Hormuz, one must assume they could be armed. I don't believe these weapons have been activated yet, they seem to be a last-ditch resort. However, military planners are undoubtedly aware of Iran's military prowess, having fought Americans in Iraq for years, and are likely incorporating those lessons. This potential ground war is unique because, unlike the Vietnamese or Iraqis, Iranians possess far more capable technologies and have the backing of China and Russia. The Vietnamese had Chinese backing, but China's capabilities then were vastly different from today. Globally, prescribed blackouts are already occurring in Egypt to conserve energy, a trend we can expect to see more widely. The rising cost of living is severely impacting food banks in Canada, forcing them to scale back services precisely when demand is highest. In southern Saskatchewan, the Moose Jaw and District Food Bank will limit households to 1 visit per month instead of 2, starting April 1st, and will also reduce the amount of food per visitor. This exemplifies the long-term solutions to short-term problems paradox. Executive Director Jason Moore noted that resources simply aren't keeping up with demand. As I've observed, people are becoming noticeably more aggressive at checkouts. I recently saw a video of a woman putting what appeared to be gasoline into plastic grocery bags in the back of her car. While it's easy to mock, this poses a significant safety hazard for everyone. In other societies, people possess a certain common sense regarding such dangers, even when dealing with volatile situations. Here in the West, people often lack that awareness. During winter power outages, individuals have died from carbon monoxide poisoning by running cars in their garages. Similarly, in high-rise buildings, a fire contingency plan is essential. Cities could burn when the lights go out because emergency services may be overwhelmed, and people, unaccustomed to life without the grid, will make dangerous mistakes. That was just one woman. We can assume similar unsafe practices are occurring nationwide where gasoline is scarce. If you plan to stockpile gasoline, remember it's highly volatile. Do not store it near sleeping areas, lithium batteries, or anything flammable. Small amounts might be permissible, but storing large quantities without proper, expensive storage tanks is prohibited by law due to the extreme danger. Diesel, however, is a versatile fuel source, especially for heating, and is a preferred choice if available. The U.S. Defense Department is actively seeking companies that can quickly supply prefabricated, transportable bunkers to protect troops amidst the ongoing conflict in Iran, requesting delivery timelines of 3, 15, and 30 days. Ron Atlas, currently in the United Arab Emirates, is consulting with their government to build bunkers similar to those in Israel. Dmitry Peskov, the spokesperson for the Russian government, states that Russian-US relations have reached their lowest point ever, a significant declaration, especially considering Trump's recent claims that things between Ukraine and Russia have never been calmer. Peskov says relations across all areas have essentially come to a halt. This is critical, as Russia is now accused of aiding Iran by providing both material and intelligence for strikes on American military bases. Drones have also strayed into Finnish territory. The Finnish Prime Minister himself reportedly tried to calm the situation by suggesting they were Ukrainian drones targeting St. Petersburg's oil and gas facilities, though accusations persist that Baltic airspace is being used for this purpose. Putin faces pressure to act, and people inside Russia are growing increasingly frustrated. As of this video, another port in Novorossiysk was under attack, and the Luga port has been hit daily. The Primorsk oil refinery has also been struck. These attacks, reportedly aided by American intelligence, surveillance, and reconnaissance, ISR, are occurring irrespective of their impact on global oil prices. This lends credence to conspiracy theories suggesting that rising oil and gas prices, mass famine, and lockdowns are part of a larger plan, perhaps involving a false flag operation blamed on Iran. The theory suggests that after such an event, with loyalists' unwavering support, a military draft would be enacted under a wave of patriotism. The situation in Russia has never been worse, regardless of media coverage. I personally believe Putin and Xi Jinping are waiting for the US to fully commit ground forces, becoming inextricably ensnared in a crisis from which withdrawal is nearly impossible without creating a dangerous power vacuum. Once committed, I suspect Putin, who has been conserving drones while Ukrainian strikes have been more numerous recently, will launch a major offensive. Concurrently, China appears to be preparing for action around the Taiwan Strait. Deadlines are approaching. Tomorrow, I will delve deeper into the specific deadlines various countries face if they do not receive the necessary oil, natural gas, and fertilizers to plant their crops. The World Uncertainty Index has reached historical highs, completely off the charts. This economic indicator, which aggregates the term uncertainty in economic literature, reflects extremely negative sentiment. As of this video's creation, crude oil prices are up about 3%, and if this trend continues, I expect Trump to issue a statement attempting to cool the markets. Taiwan is set to raise fuel prices for the third time this month, as economists warn that a prolonged Middle East conflict could drive inflation and exacerbate energy security concerns. Taiwan typically has about 2 weeks of oil and gas reserves, but currently, they may only have about a week before supplies run critically low. China has allegedly stationed assets across the Taiwan Strait, deploying over 200 converted J-6 attack drones at 6 airbases near the strait, 5 in Fujian province and 1 in Guangdong province, designed to overwhelm air defenses in a first-wave assault, akin to cruise missiles. This suggests they could be preparing for a move. Japan is also preparing to intervene if China acts, having received tough ultimatums from Beijing regarding Tokyo's plans to deploy new missile systems with a range of up to 4,000 kilometers, which China perceives as a direct threat to its territory. In conclusion, I reiterate, please take this seriously. You must prepare. If you are considering prepping food, be wary of 30-day food supply scams. If it seems too good to be true, it probably is. The quality is often poor, and you're better off hunting or growing your own potatoes. The window of opportunity is truly closing, and this situation increasingly resembles the early days of a major crisis. Do yourself a favor, don't believe the hype. While we hope for the best, and that any positive pronouncements signal the crisis's peak, current indicators suggest otherwise. You are entirely justified in prepositioning and provisioning whatever you can. Once the news truly spreads, we can expect a steady uptick in panic buying. This could be the final week before that surge begins. Get out there and take action. Additionally, if you plan to plant a garden this year, remember that fertilizers and other supplies will likely become more expensive. Seize the opportunity to acquire these before the typical rush.